Hey guys, welcome to P2 and your introduction to InDesign. That is what we are going to work on in this project. So we will still be working with Illustrator at times, but for this project, we are going to introduce ourselves to InDesign. So the first thing that I should say is that you will have to take the first 5 to 6 tutorials in adobe.com under InDesign. That will get you sort of up and running and will be enough to do this project. This is a fairly simple project, and it's going to test some of the things that we've looked at so far. So mainly working with margins and columns, white space, and introducing different typefaces. So the idea behind this project is that we're going to create an 11 by 17 poster. It's only going to use black ink. Um, you are going to have to research a quote about design, and then you are going to typeset it. Um, every line will feature a different typeface, or you can repeat the typefaces, but each line has to have a different typeface. Meaning, you could say go Helvetica, Bembo, Helvetica, Bembo, if you wanted to repeat 2 or 3 typefaces. Um, so the aim for the poster is to achieve a balance in leading, creating a dynamic composition using different typefaces from different categories. Um, you have to use justified type. That's how it's going to work. Um, you have to use a quote that is going to be 10 lines or more, and you have to use multiple typefaces. So just to give you an example of some that I've pulled, uh, this is a pretty interesting one that actually uses, actually breaks the line, so has more than 2 sort of thoughts on one line, which is a little bit difficult, but interesting. Here's one that does the same thing. I would say this gets a little bit messy looking, and I don't love it, but I'm just showing you as an example. Here's a really good one, actually. It's a quote by Eric Speakerman. Now, what you want to recognize is sort of even though the typefaces change size and styles, there's still relatively normal space between the lines, so the leading in there, and that's going to be the trickiest thing. The other thing to notice about this one is look at how there's really nice white space around the outside that sort of lets the type be the star and sort of sit there and frames it very nicely. And then here's one that's in color, but again, really plays around with a few typefaces. So in our case, we're only going to work in black, but yeah, that's the idea. So find a really good quote about graphic design, because you will be marked on how good your quote is as well. Make sure that it's going to be 10 lines or more, and then try and work a really nice balance, whether it's serif or sans serif, script. So I am going to just show you a little bit in InDesign, and you will get all of this when you take the tutorials. But here I am, and what the first thing you're going to notice about InDesign is it's very similar to how Illustrator works. So if we start, I can look and see if there's a tabloid, or if I go under print, actually that will give us a nice tabloid. So you see here's a tabloid document. So I can click on that, and then when I go over to my right, it's going to give me lots of options. But you can also create those options once we move into it. It's going to go OK, and there is my 11 by 17 document. So the first thing to realize about this document is we do not really have a need for 2 to 3 or 4 columns. Really, what you're going to do is work in one column. So to change this guide, I'll go to Layout and then go Margins and Columns, and then up it comes. And so if you look, you can preview this. Um, I'm going to change mine. And you can change these all together. So if you link it like that, you can do this. So I'm going to bring it right in. Let's give it. So because it is a standalone poster, I'm going to give it a really a nice big white margin around it. It could be more, it could be less. That's totally up to you. You know, you could go right in if you wanted to. So once you have that, you go okay, and it's one column. So again, just like Illustrator, here's my menu over to the left. I'm going to click on my type box and I go up to the edge of my guide. I'm going to pull the box open. So now that I have that open, all I need to do is find my margin and find my quote. Okay, so I have selected very quickly design quote. So I'm going to paste it in, Command V. I'm just going to make sure it's, at this point, it's just one weight. Let's see, so I'm going to make it there we go. So it's one weight. Now the key with this is once you start changing the size of your type, it's very difficult to balance it out. So that's going to be one of your biggest challenges. So let's just say I put this in here and we just take it for what it is. You zoom in. I try to approach design from an honest point of view. If you're branding a product, it should highlight all of the reasons someone might to buy it, e.g., useful, ergonomic, culturally rich, beautiful, etc., rather than create an illusion of filling the role of something it doesn't. Kevin Chow. So when you're looking at your type, what you're trying to understand and figure out is where does it make sense to highlight certain things and what lines sort of stand out. Um, I try to approach design from an I try to approach design. So I'm going to move that down from an honest point of view. That's perfect. So I'm going to move that down. If you're branding a product, perfect. That makes sense to break it there. It should highlight all of the reasons. It should highlight all of the reasons someone might want to buy it, e.g., useful, of a culture rich, beautiful, etc. So that one all seems to work together. So as you can see, InDesign has the identical sort of character palette, so window type character, and I'm going to end up making that one quite small. Rather than create an illusion, yep, I like that as a sentence, of filling the role of something it doesn't. Kevin Chow. So now I've sort of broken it down into different lines. So there's a couple ways to tackle this. I could create a box out of each one of these, or I can just use my leading on here. So let's just say I decide to start with what I have. All right, sans, and I go, I'm going to change case and go uppercase. Okay, so then I'm going to change this one to bold. I'm going to make And instead of hitting, so instead of using actual, the justified alignment, I'm going to use set left, and I'm going to use my guides to indicate when I get to the end. So I'm just going to just open it up a little bit. And so what you can do is you can even open up your box a little bit wider. And then when you do that, what it enables you to do is I can just lightly sort of get that end to my guide. I try to approach design. So another way to do it would be, okay, I try to approach, so I go, I'm going to just pop this up. And I'm going to open it up just a little bit, and I'll fix that after. And then let's just change this to regular and just open it up a little bit. Then when I change design, what I'm going to do is look for something, a typeface that maybe is a little bit interesting. So I'm going to look at Anziano Pro. It's kind of a modern serif, and I'm going to do this all in lowercase. I'm not going to use italics. I'm just going to use regular. So what happens when I just blow this up? I'm just going to see where it gets me to. Okay, now I'm just going to open it up till I get that end to reach the thing. And now, as you can see, I'm starting to run into leading problems. So if I just simply change the leading like this, that will completely work, but it will get very tricky as you go down because each line is going to have a different measurement. So the other way to do it, um, so if you look at this, if I did it this way, I could pull this off. I'm just going to copy and paste it so I have it, and I could also do it this way. So there's my first line, and then I copy and paste a text box, and then I open that up, and I'm just going to copy design, Command C, Command A, delete everything, paste it in. So once I do that, I can also do it this way, and the one benefit to this is I'm not trying to balance a million leading measurements. So I can sort of do that. Now the interesting thing, obviously, about the word design in lowercase is it has some funny, the D goes much higher than the rest of it. So here I go. I'm going to just bring it down, and I'm going to go uppercase. And then just going to open it up again. Until I get it close. And then I'm just going to bring it down. And again, if you decide to go a little bit wider, you can do that. So when you get really big type, you'll see that it always leaves a little space. So realistically, my I and my D aren't lining up. So I can start it out, and because it's not proper typesetting, but because it's very custom, I then can sort of do that, and then just get us to the outside. And then if you see, if I go, just move this out, view, screen mode, preview, you can sort of see then what you're dealing with. And you can decide, okay, yes, I'm going to create a very tight leading all the way through with many different looks. So let's just say so the next line that I talked about was that. So I'm going to take that, and then I'm going to do another box. Honest point of view. So, maybe now I'll just experiment a little bit, and that's pretty important when you're doing these things. So I'm just going to filter my classification. So if you either in Illustrator or in InDesign, if you go under your character box, and you click on the type, over here it says filters. And what that enables you to do is actually look at different styles. So instead of going through the entire type menu, you can say, okay, I just want to look at scripts. So I click on that, and then I just sort of scroll down, and maybe I want to use uh, kind of a new script, a little bit more modern. A lot of scripts are very dated looking, and you don't even have to use a script if you don't want to. But I'm just selecting this one just to show you how these things start to work. So I just zoom in a little bit, and it says from an honest point of view. It's very thin, this Holler 10, so I think I'm gonna bail on Holler's 10, and let's see, I'm just gonna go down a little bit. You know, it makes for very exciting videos when the instructor is is scrolling. Oh, I'm just gonna scroll for the next 10 minutes or so, so just hang tight. There we go. So again, I've chosen a modern interpretation of script. Now, just FYI, if you're working with scripts, the one thing you want to avoid is actually tracking them out, because scripts, the very essence of scripts is that the letters are connected. So it's not really a classification that you want to open up. Although this one is not a traditional script, you actually could do it, but for the most part, scripts, the letters are connected. So if I keep this at 0, you'll see how they connect. There you go. So if you happen to use the script, script classification is pretty much the only typeface that you want to avoid tracking way out. So instead of tracking it way out, you're going to have to actually scale it if you're going to make it fit all the way across. So things like you're probably looking at and going, well, that period looks pretty strange. And I'm like, yeah, it does look pretty strange. Good eye. So I grab it, just bring it up, and I'm actually going to hang that. I'm going to just hang that over there a little bit. And then I'm going to tighten it to like, no, I'm not going to tighten it because it doesn't look good. So I'm going to 82.2, and there. That makes sense because the top of the W looks like it should line up and not necessarily the line that hangs out from there. Same as the F. If you see this, yeah, you're going to have to make a judgment call as to whether this part of the F hangs out or not, and I haven't made that determination yet, so I'm just going to see what I have. See, it does definitely look strange, but I almost guarantee that working with this typeface, if say I just bring it in a little bit, now tell me what looks stranger, having it hang out or not hanging it out, because now there's this big gap with just a tiny little hook. So at the end of the day, yeah, I am just going to have to take my lumps with this typeface, or maybe I choose something different. Maybe I don't use a script at all. So there we go. So what I was talking about with leading is you really want to keep a consistent visual. So now what you're doing is you can't really measure it, but let's just, well, you can measure it. If you did this and just drew a box and we're completely pretty much going rogue on this one, and if I did that, what you're trying to get is this script to kind of look like it's visually close. The problem is that as the ascenders go up, they can't get that close. So when I eyeball that, and it's going to be a lot of eyeballing, you see that the ascender on this H is pretty close to this S, and it's more distance in here. But what I'm looking at is the X height and how much white it creates in here. So it's kind of, yeah, I mean, that's, that's fairly close. So if I zoom out, there we go. Certainly is not perfect, but it does give me something to work with. So one of the other things that you can also consider is you can use slight line accents and rules if you like. So if I just sort of, just gonna go in here and fix this box. So I'll just show you what I'm talking about. And this is, you certainly don't have to, but it is an option. So I'm just going to change this. Now in this case, I'm going to take point of view, and I'm going to go to my my paragraph. I've sort of lost all my tools here, so sorry about that. I'm just going to reset it. Workspace, printing and proofing, reset. And when you reset your document, what you should get is all of your tools back. Let's see. Just get rid of that. There we go. So let's just reset that again. Sorry about that. Workspace, typography. I'm going to set it to typography. I'm going to pull this over. Going to stack my palettes. So when I'm looking at my paragraph, I'm going to make it, just to show you, I'm going to make that centered, and then I'm basically going to take my type, I'm going to bring it down to there, and I will have to check my leading. But say I wanted to do that, then one of the things I could do is I could look at my guides again, and if I wanted to, I could give this a nice sort of accent line like that. So window stroke. I'm just going to make that 0.4, so very thin, black. And I could make it, so you see how much space is over here? Well, on this side, I'm going to actually open it up a little bit more. And then because it's a script, I'm actually going to make it a little bit more decorative. So you can see, I'll just do this. So I'm just putting a little T on it, and then I'm going to shift it across the other side. And this is just, this is just one of many ideas. You certainly do not have to follow this, and you don't even have to use a script if you like. But just to show you that there are times when you can not necessarily just only have your type running to the edge. You can't draw pictures and things like that. But if I just hide my guides or go preview, you can see now that it kind of gives you a nice sort of detail, because scripts are very decorative anyways. It kind of is in keeping. So what I might do is just select it, and then bring up my stroke, make sure it's black, window, stroke, and I made it disappear, and bring it up again. So in this case, I'm going to try making it 2 points is too big, 1 point is about right. So if I do that and then click off of it, you can see now that the width of these rules fits quite nicely with the width or with the thickness of my letter form. So I am going to leave it at that. I've sort of designed my first 3 lines, and yeah, good luck. Remember to what you're doing is you're visually using your eyes to sort of set your measurements in this one, because each typeface will be different. The letting will be completely different. So that's why I've gone to like 3 boxes of type, and then I'm using my eyes to visually tell me how much space it should have. So like say if I just brought this down like this and I did this, I think you can kind of look above design and go that, well, that's too much space and it's pretty tight here. So I'm just going to bring it up. And now you're getting closer. So what you're really trying to do are balance these things off. So yeah, welcome to InDesign. This will be something that is due fairly quickly, but you do have the Thanksgiving weekend to do your tutorials. So I can tell you that there is nothing better than a nice turkey drumstick and a tutorial. So yeah, good luck.